What is up, fellow bench warmers? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Bench Warmers Depth Chart Analysis with 20 minutes before the draft. So let's try to squeeze this in. Komish is here. My name is JJT. And today we'll talk about Houston, Indiana, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. All right, let's get things going with the Houston Rockets. Lots of depth. Well, not lots of familiar names, I guess. Depth, let's see. But they've loaded up. Houston has loaded up. Looks like it's not necessarily a tanking team anymore. Starters, Van Fleet, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Sengun. Your thoughts
Yeah,
on
they
the
want to contend.
starters?
They want to contend. That's why they signed Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks. And KPJ, of course we know what happened to KPJ, and we heard that they're trying to trade the contract to get players that can help them now. So it just shows that they want to contend. I don't think they're tanking. They want to at least get into maybe play-in tournament levels, no? Because they do have a lot of talent in this team, a lot of young players in this team.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um, e- of these players here, obviously Van Fleet is probably the top player here in this starter group. Um, Maybe we can talk about Jalen Green's, Jabari, and Sengun. Jalen Green has been, a little bit not as hyped, falling off a little bit in the drafts, not as popular as he once was. Um, Same thing with Jabari. I guess Jabari's fallen off a little bit as well. Uh, but the guy that's really high on everyone's list is Alperen Sengun, and there have been concerns about him in the new system of Ime Udoka. How concerned are you with Alperen Sengun? Do you think he's being overdrafted by a lot of managers?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Alperen Sengun right now is probably in the 60s
Yeah,
range. Sometimes if you pick him in the 50s, 50 top 50, I think that's overdrafting him. But if you pick him around the 60s where he's going, I think it's okay. Yeah, I understand the concerns with Ime Udoka, who's a defensive-minded coach. So we do understand that Sengun is not really known for his defense, but we have to remember that it's not that he doesn't know how to play defense. He doesn't have a coach who has taught him really how to play defense. The coach before, one of I've been on record that he's not really a good coach, and Sengun was a rookie and a sophomore for the past 2 years. Same with Jalen Green. Same with Jalen Green. Both of
yeah,
them 2 seasons under Stephen Silas. So they've never really been in a different system, a championship contending, playoff contending coach system, which is now what they will have, which what they will experience. I think he will start. He will get 30 minutes, Sengun. So I'm not afraid about that.
yeah.
We'll
Plus,
be surprised with the stocks. He might get some this year.
yeah. Plus, if you look at the depth chart, there's really no other notable center out there. I mean, what Jock Landale is not really also not really a big defensive center
I think
with
what
them.
they're afraid of is Jabari getting some of the center minutes and Eason getting to power forward in a little small ball situation. But I think Jabari can play some five, but I don't think he can play a lot of five. I mean,
Yeah,
a long term, a lot of minutes in a lot of games, no, especially the regular season. Maybe in the playoffs they do that, but in the regular season, he's too thin. No, I think he's not strong enough to really hold down that five spot. That's just me. No, and that's why I think Sengun is still the outside of Van Vliet. Sengun should be the best option here and a player with upside and a player I would target. Jabari, you mentioned Jabari and Jalen's fall, and I think it's because we know what happened to Jabari last year. He was
last
one of
year.
the
Yeah,
hyped rookies, and he was not able to perform. And Jalen, meanwhile, very inefficient player, shoots very poorly in the field goal percentages, doesn't steal the ball as much. So it's a very inefficient player. So people don't like that usually in fantasy. So that is why they're falling. I think Jabari might be a little underrated now after being overrated last year. He had a
Mhm.
great summer league, and as long as you're punting field goals, I think you can consider him. I think you can consider Jabari Smith this
All
year,
right. So
especially at his range.
two players that are notable here off the bench, Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. I know
Yeah,
these two are popular late round flyers in the
yeah.
draft. Who do you like more?
I like Eason because he's a sophomore. I think he has that experience down, and he's a good defensive player. We said Udoka likes it. I like him more because now that Kevin Porter is out, I think the minutes will open up for him. 24, 25 minutes might be there. Whereas before, I would think 20, 21 would be his minutes probably. But now we can get to 24, 25. Block steals, 3 points. I think he could get 1-1-1. I believe that. So I like Eason more. But I like Amen a lot. No, I like Amen a lot. I'm just being realistic that I don't think he can perform right away. He's a guard. You can play small forward, but I think he'll play some point guard here as a rookie point guard. Even Jaden Ivey will loved him out of college, but yeah, you can see what happened last year. The inefficiencies, the struggles. There
Yeah.
were highlight reels, but overall in fantasy, it was kind of painful. So I think Amen could have a similar track. No, especially Ivy played in college. Amen played in what overtime elite. No, against high school players. The level of
Yeah.
competition would be something else. So Amen, it
And
will
we
take
also
time.
saw players who came from that program, like Jalen Green, struggled the first year, right?
Jalen
Jalen
Green
Green.
came from G League Ignite.
Oh,
Amen
yeah.
came from overtime elite, which is more against high school. A high school league,
Mhm.
basically an all-star high school league. At least Jalen Green played against
Pros.
pros. Yeah,
Yeah. Semi
yeah,
pros.
yeah. But
Um,
talent is there. Talent is there for Amen. I still like him overall. Last round, maybe you can try it out. No,
all right. Let's move on to the Pacers. Um,
interesting team. Yeah,
all right. So the Pacers are interesting in the sense, one, because Buddy Hield is being shipped or being shopped around. It looks like he's going to be traded. If not, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded before the season even starts. So there could be some changes here in the lineup, in the depth chart. Who replaces him would be a big question, of course. But Tyrese is the guy that's at the top of the list here. He's being drafted sometimes top five, sometimes top. He doesn't go beyond seven or eight, top eight.
actually, the newest rankings came out and he fell. No, I don't know if that's gonna affect his rankings, but I've
Yeah,
been
but
picking
people
top
have been
five.
picking him. Yeah, people have been picking him. I mean, the rankings, throw the rankings out the window at this
But
point,
no,
especially for the first few picks, because his ADP has been quite high.
but I think with the new rankings coming out, it will fall a little bit because there's still managers who follow that. But I think not as big as probably you would expect, because as you said, he's really gotten a little bit of fantasy hype, fantasy love.
Is he overhyped?
Not for me, no.
You think
Okay,
five is okay?
five is okay. Five is okay for me. I'll tell you why. Tyrese last year, it is first year as a starting point guard, as a star of a team, and he was able to perform so well. And now that you have another year under his belt, he's only 22. After
Mhm.
then with the USA experience, which actually will help him more, he has more experience under his belt. They always say, how will he get to the next level? And there's a lot of pathways here. He's averaged 20, 13, 15, 17 points, then 20 points last year. That's still a lot of room for growth, I think, scoring wise, if he becomes more aggressive. So I think he can get to 22, 23 points a game. The assists, so elite. 10.4 at the efficiency that he does. It's like Harden. It's like James Harden, but younger, but less drama, less everything
Mhm.
else. So Harden, even with all the drama, will be picked in the 20s because of the assists. And Halliburton with this kind of efficiency, 1.6 steals, 10.4 assists last year. I mean, definitely top 5 should be the range to get him.
All right. So yeah, Buridi definitely, at least if you have multiple teams in your fantasy, multiple fantasy teams, have him in one of those so you won't miss out in
Yeah.
case he really performs really really well this year. Buddy Hield, the replacement, I guess. Hard to talk about Buddy Hield because we don't know where he's going, but player that you see benefiting if
I don't think Buddy
they
Hield
play.
will I don't think Bruce Brown is not starting, no, for one. I don't know if it's Maturin who will go to the bench or Buddy Hield, but Bruce Brown will start. So this depth chart I'm not agreeing with. Jarvis Walker also I'm not 100%. I'm not even 30% confident he's gonna start. It's Obi Toppin. I think it's Obi Toppin. So I will change Bruce Brown and Toppin here and then remove probably Buddy Hield and Jarvis Walker. Now Buddy Hield, he's being shopped around, but it's not a given he's gonna be traded now
Mhm.
before the season starts. So we cannot really speculate on that because it's hard to really predict, whether he gets traded or not. But who will step up? For one, Benedict Maturin, he's the guy people are looking at, one of the better late round picks. And I think in fantasy last year wasn't good. Wasn't good fantasy wise. Wasn't what we expected.
Good early. He was good early on.
Yeah, but he even early on there was no steals to talk about, no
There was
assists, no nothing.
nothing except for the scoring.
Scoring. And I think that might still continue. No, looking at this lineup, there's not one player here that really can score a lot in Indiana. The one that can really just score 25, 20. Even Tyrese, as we said, he averaged 20 only last year. So Benedict Maturin another year could improve his scoring. And that late at the draft, I think he's one of the better last round picks or late round picks because 20 plus point scorers late 140s 150 sometimes is hard to find. So I think Maturin is a guy to watch out for, especially if Buddy Hield gets moved. Although we don't know what will come back, no, who will come back, but I'm pretty sure whoever comes back won't be as good as Buddy Hield scoring wise, no, shooting wise.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think Maturin is a guy that would be definitely affected by a Hield trade here in Indiana.
A player that might surprise you here in this Indiana lineup.
Um, I think Jairus Walker. I have him as a last pick in our league, and I feel like if he gets even just half of the minutes at power forward, he if you don't know his game, he's like Paul Millsap, basically like Paul Millsap, but he can already defend. He can already defend, so the defense is not a problem. His body type is not a problem. I think it's more of whether he's ready scoring wise and everything, experience in the NBA if he's ready. It's just Obi Toppin ahead of him. So I think Walker, if there is a slight chance that if Rick Carlisle suddenly, looks his way, he could be a top 120 player, I think. Uh yeah, with the
All right.
Pacers.
All right. Let's talk about the Clippers. Uh,
Okay.
right there. The Clippers starters: Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi, Batum, Zubac. Not sure if Batum actually would
Yeah,
be the
the starter.
regular or the consistent starter because they've got options there. They've got KJ Martin, they've got Terrence Mann. Sometimes they rotate these guys. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the starters. Of course, Paul George, Kawhi, they are at the second roundish, third roundish type, always available. Do you? Of course, everyone likes Paul George, and I would assume you would agree more than Kawhi.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I think Paul George is the better pick. I think he's falling sometimes 40s. They're draft at the 40s,
It's
sometimes
too low.
30s.
40s. Where are those drafts? I like that.
Yeah, that's too low. But really, it's hard to. You can't blame some managers. I think in a deeper league, some people are just letting him fall because in a deeper 16, 18 team league, it's hard to really get someone that early. Um, and then lose him for half of the season or for 30 games or 40 games. So that's why he's falling. But if you're asking Paul George or Kawhi, I would trust Paul George more. Kawhi, a meniscus tear, we're not. I know he looks good, but he always looks good this part of the season. So I think we're not yet sure if his knee can hold on. No, so I would trust Paul George. If they're both healthy, though, of course, we all agree Kawhi is the better option here.
All right. Among the players who are in the second tier, you've got lots of small forwards there. Terrence Mann, Powell, of course, Batum can still contribute. KJ Martin, a new addition. Who do you like the most? Is it
I
still
like
Powell
KJ. I
or
like
Mann?
KJ.
Or
I really like KJ Martin, but I'm not confident here because of the depth of the team, as you said. Kawhi and Paul George are healthy as of now, but I like KJ as somebody to watch out for. Not maybe not to draft, but somebody to put in your watch list. So KJ is my guy. I'm not really high on Norm Powell at this point. Terrence Mann is somebody people have always talking about every year in fantasy, but he's not a fantasy friendly guy. No, his stat set, and I just feel like there's too much depth here. There's no upside in the game of Terrence Mann. So I'd rather go with somebody like KJ. If it's just hard to see where he gets the minutes. No, Batum, Rocco is there, Marcus Morris is there. Kawhi has got to get hurt for him to really maybe, you know,
which can happen. I think these
yeah.
guys will have their chance at some point. And once, like, if Kawhi rest or Paul George rest, we'll be able to see who they would prefer replacing them in the starting lineup. Because at this now, it's just a guess that maybe KJ would be the better one. But of course, sometimes KJ is also the newcomer here in this group. You've got the other guys are been there with the system for a longer period of time. With Norm, Terrence Mann, Batum, those guys have been with Tai Lu's system for quite a while. So it's a guess, but yeah, at some point these guys will get opportunities, and these guys will definitely be players to watch out for. All right, let's move on to the Lakers as we are 2 minutes before the draft. The Lakers, like we said, they're deep.
They're
And
deep.
D'Lo, Austin Reeves, LeBron, Jared Vanderbilt, AD, those are the starters. Of course, players off the bench are Gabe Vincent, notable players off the bench. Uh, Gabe, Torian Prince, Rui, Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish is still there, is also there. Um, these are names that are very familiar to pretty much a lot of fantasy managers or fans in general. So let's talk about starters. LeBron is the guy that many are expecting to um, decline a bit in terms of the minutes, in terms of production. How do you see him? He's been drafted what, second round, maybe late
Depends.
early
Depends.
third.
He's going a lot of ways in drafts. No, sometimes second, sometimes third, but mostly 30s. No, and I think just right, because really with looking at this lineup, it's hard to see him getting, I don't know, not getting rested, not getting load managed. So I think LeBron probably better at the 30 mark. No.
Uh, yeah, so and that's where he's usually being picked. And I just feel like he might, I don't know, maybe a Laker fan in me is thinking he might surprise us, especially if you pick him in the 30s. He might still overachieve. That second round
Per
value can
game,
still be possible.
per game, I think he could. Per game, he could. But overall, if you're looking at totals, which I think I am looking at totals in head to head, I don't think he will be able to overachieve because he's gonna be rested. He's gonna be rested a lot of games. Look at the lineup. Look at how deep this lineup is. No, this is not like last year. Austin Reeves will take a next step up, and for sure, with Austin Reeves, with D'Lo, with everybody there, they can withstand some 1 or 2 games of LeBron resting here and there.
All right. Players from the bench that would surprise us. Is
Players.
Vincent, Rui, Vanderbilt, or Jackson Hayes worth a roster spot in
With,
your fantasy team?
no, no, I'm not looking at any of them. Christian Wood is the guy that people are drafting the highest among the bench
Oh yeah,
players, right?
Christian Wood isn't. Is he here?
I don't think he's
No, he's
there.
not yet here. Yeah, he's not
So
yet here.
he's the guy who's being drafted the highest. For me, Wood is okay, but I'm never gonna draft Wood in 12 team leagues or even 14. It's it's just too volatile,
It's
his role.
tougher. Yeah, it's tougher to pick him. I know Commish is picking right now, so let's take a little
Yeah,
bit of
Joe,
give
it's
him a
okay.
little bit.
No,
All
no.
right. So yeah, I think Christian Wood. It's so hard to also see him um, contribute a lot in this Lakers team. I mean, he can contribute when given the minutes, but like we said, the depth is there. Um, but it's going to be interesting as well to see how they play this out, like how the rotation would be in the power forward position. Vanderbilt, Rui, because maybe they play Rui at the small forward at times, right? And then we don't know how they play Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is another solid contributor, but he's not yet a proven contributor that plays 30, 40 minutes or 30, 35 minutes or maybe even 28 minutes, right?
I
Because
think
in New Orleans, he doesn't play as much as well.
yes, yes. I think they will probably start Vanderbilt and then have Rui come off the bench. I think that would be how their power forward rotation go.
Yeah, but where does Christian Woods play
He's
here? He
I think
replaces Anthony Davis.
yeah, he's gonna be basically a bench guy, a guy who backs up Davis, but most of his value fantasy wise this season will be on days that Davis will rest or when Davis gets injured, which will happen. We know that will happen. He will back to backs. There will be games he'll not play. That's where Wood would become either a top streamer, or whatever. A player who that would be what his role would be. Like Bobby Portis last year. Remember Bobby Portis last year when Yanis was out or Brook Lopez was out, he was a double machine. But when they're there, he's the difference in value is so much.
Yeah. Another team that we should be watching closely to see who contributes here. For sure, there'll be some bench guys here that might eventually be fantasy relevant when the season starts. All right, last for today, the Memphis Grizzlies. We have Marcus Smart starting, Desmond Bain. I'm not sure if Conchar would be starting, but yeah, he is there. Of course, Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams. Not much has changed other than, of course, Marcus Smart is with the Grizzlies, and then, of course, Ja Morant will be out for the first 25 games. Um, any thoughts on the starters?
I'm not sure about Conchar. I agree with you. I'm not sure with Conchar, but well, of course, the biggest thing there is Ja Morant is out.
Yeah,
So if Ja Morant is out, Marcus Smart should get a bigger value for the first few 25 games, for the first 25 games basically. But overall, I think they're stable. No, the starting five is one of the more stable one, except for Marcus Smart replacing Ja Morant. Whether it's John Conchar, who else are the options there at
Luke
small
Kennard,
forward?
I think, is one of the
Uh,
options. I
I
would
don't think
say it's
Kennard will
either
start.
Luke, Zaire, Williams.
Maybe
I
Laravia.
don't think. No, he's not here.
So I think Jack Laravia or
Yeah,
yeah, I think Kennard will be the player coming off the bench for this team. It's more of
but I think
uh,
last year they started Conchar in some games as well.
yeah. They started Conchar in something, so maybe Conchar gets the nod. I agree. Maybe Conchar gets the nod.
Um, yeah. So any player that might surprise us. I know Conchar is not really on everyone's radar. He's not really a very
Uh,
fantasy friendly that would
Steven
excite you.
Adams, right? Steven
Yeah,
Adams is the 170s. He's one of my favorite last round picks. I know people are afraid of the free throws. The free throws suck, but he averages what, 2, 3 free throws a game. So he's not really. It's not really taking a lot to really hurt your teams. And if you're punting free throws, even better. So yeah, I
But
think
the thing I have with Steven Adams, he's a low key, he's the type of player who low key declines as the season wears on. So he starts off really hot, and then eventually, for some reason, whether it's injury or whatever, rotation, his game falls off towards the end. And that's, I guess, something that you should be wary about with Steven Adams.
yeah. But if
There
you're
would
picking
be
him,
games where he'll give you what, 15, 16, 17 rebounds. And
yes,
then
that's
there will
true.
be some games that, he might not play as much.
But if you're picking him low, I think it's almost risk free in my opinion.
Yeah. Uh, so, yeah. So, Steven Adams, a player that uh, might surprise us. The rest, not sure. Lastly, Ja Morant, where do you
Mm-hmm.
like him the most?
90s. I like him in 90s. You can pick him in the 80s if you want. That's the highest I'll go. That's the highest I'll go.
Uh,
Yeah, that's the highest I'll go. If not 90s, the thing is, even if he comes back, I don't think he plays every game. I don't think he plays every
oh,
game.
really?
So
He's not injured.
he's not, but he always gets some injuries here and there, small injuries. So he's not given that he's gonna play the remainder of the 57 games. Plus, now that they have Marcus Smart, that makes them even deeper. No, so a lot of risks with Ja Morant. His game is not even that fantasy friendly, really. He's very inefficient player. No,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a certain build. No, it's not for everybody. And for me, if you're waiting on someone who doesn't fit well with your team, it's a waste. It's a waste. No, unless you don't really have any player in your IL plus, that's okay. Because I think he's only eligible in IL plus,
Yeah.
as far as I
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that worries me, right? Because if your league doesn't have a lot of IL plus, you're basically committing that position to Ja for 25 games, and that is a risky thing to do given so many load management injuries, game time decisions that will happen. That's happening now in the NBA, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. That's it. As always, guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more fantasy basketball content. And of course, follow us on Twitter, FBW underscore podcast and FBW underscore com underscore Eric. And with that, we'll see you guys again in the next episode or on our draft episodes, which are really popular among our followers. So, yeah. See you guys. Bye.